Hey, ladies and gents, it's Zem, and we are doing Zem's favorite tier tanks. So this is tier two. I did the tier one, which was of course, the infamous Lowell tractor, and now we have the BT-2. Uh, well, the problem with this is when I'm doing my favorite tier tanks is I hate playing anything below three, sometimes four, but I do have two boys that we do play quite often at these lower tiers, and it's simply too frustrating sometimes. But since I'm doing this tank series, we can't forget tier two, and I threw a new crew into this tank because I didn't have it anymore. So it was kind of an interesting 10 games. I always play 10 games just to give it kind of see if I can get back into the feel of how to play these um, maps with these tanks and all that kind of stuff. After 10 games, I decided that enough was enough because frustration was starting to set in. So, what do we have with the BT-2? Well, what's interesting about the BT-2, and this is historically interesting, is that this was actually based off of a design created by an American uh, race car driver and mechanic. His last name was Christie, and this was the infamous Christie suspension. And what you see here is, of course, this these set of road wheels that on the side of the tank here. Um, Christie was not when he introduced this to the U.S. Army. They didn't like it. Uh, However, which was interesting, the at the time the Russians got wind of this suspension, and they really kind of thought it was a pretty good idea. Through some other political wrangling and whatnot, they ended up getting one of Christie's prototypes for the suspension. They took it back to Russia, and from there they, of course, reverse engineered it, and it proceeded to be the foundation for most of the Russian tanks during World War II, which is of course, this Christie suspension. Which was interesting about it is these tanks were called convertible tanks. Why? Because this track could be removed, and this tank could run just on it solely on its road wheels. Now that was the first couple versions. Now the Russians finally figured out that this only works on really well on paved roads, which they didn't have. So the first versions of the BTs had that ability to be converted into taking the tracks off and turning it into um, being able to run down the road just on its road wheels. However, the later versions didn't have this because, we're talking just a very few at the very beginning that had that ability. Later on, the Russians figured out it was just too complicated, and they couldn't really use it anyway because they didn't have paved roads to use it on. So, which is kind of interesting. What these tanks did have was just insane amount of mobility. This tank, the real tank with no road wheels or with no tracks on it, could get to 62 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. That's how fast this tank can go. Uh, in game, we have it, I believe, is 55 kilometers, but in the actual, the real world tank, that's what this thing can do. What was interesting is that so the BT2s, they produced about 600 of these, and that they were produced with an American copied Liberty engine. So an American copy Liberty engine, American Christie suspension. Yeah, very interesting. If you look at the historical part of it, it makes it kind of fascinating when you realize how much American engineering actually went into this tank. So that was the BT-2 series. They built about 600 of these, and then they switched to the BT-3 series, which was in fact a BT-2, but instead of using the imperial measuring system, they used the metric system. So the BT-2 and the BT-3 are exact same thing, just that one they switched over from the imperial system and they switched over to the metric system when they built the tanks. This was in 1932. They did see a little bit of action. Um, I do believe they saw a little bit of action. The BT-2 series did, but not very much. Of course, they moved on to the BT-7, and BT-5, BT-7, and whatnot like that. But the problem is that by the time they got to World War II, these things were very outdated. Their tanks were already better than they were. So by 1940, most of these tanks had been destroyed or captured in large numbers. So they were, but the thing about it is they were also the predecessor of the very good T-34 tank. You know, that's the design history of these of the BT-2. So enough with the historical part of it. Let's run over to the actual firepower on this thing. Average damage is 47, 51 pen, 27.83 rate of fire, 2.16 second reload time, 37.33 for the traverse speed, 1.96 aiming time, 0.43 dispersion. Yeah, this thing is not very good for when it comes to gun handling a lot of times, but at the tier that we're playing at, who cares? 1300 average damage, 160 hit points, 15 on the front, 13 on the side. Yeah, 10 on the rear, 26 on the turret, 13 on the side. So we got 10.96 weight load limit, 450 engine horsepower, 41. Wow, ridiculous. And a 55 kilometer top speed with 20 in reverse, 42.67 traverse speed. Um, Decent concealment, whatnot, because it is a light tank, so it is what it is. View range 315, signal range 306. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of playing tier twos, tier ones, tier threes, tier fours. Tier fives is about the lowest I'll go anywhere to play. Of course, if I'm playing with my two boys, we do dip down to the 1, 2s, and 3s quite often. But the problem I have with playing down that level is, of course, the accusations that you're a seal clubber. Um, Granted, the sheer numbers of dedicated seal clubbers, I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until I had played these 10 games. Almost every game, there was at least one person, sometimes platoons of them, with better part of 20,000 battles between 1 and 2. So I was just like, okay, yeah, it definitely made it for an interesting, eye-opening experience because, like I said, I very seldom ever get down to these levels anymore, and to just see the sheer numbers of people that still play Tier 1, 2, and obviously 3 was ridiculous. So, my favorite Tier 2, and this has a whole bunch, just to do with nostalgia. This thing, when I was playing it, when I first started playing this 6 years ago, the BT-2s were the shiznit at Tier 2. I mean, they were everywhere. They were the fastest tanks at the time, if I remember correctly. We played Campanova with these tanks, with the 45 millimeters. You could, that they were just awesome for, picking off targets at distance. Now I've noticed while I'm playing these these 10 games that I play, the sheer number of autocannons, and the maps have changed, of course, so it kind of actually works out well for autocannons because everything's really close, and they do a kind of a number on tanks that don't have autocannons. You live and learn, right? You live and learn. So I'm going to bring up the games for you guys, and we'll go over some gameplay with this thing. Okay, guys, back with the first game of the BT-2, and these tanks, especially in the tier twos, you don't see a whole lot of maps, and this one you see quite often, along with the other city map. But this is typically the map you see most of the time, and this is where this tank does pretty well, actually. The play style in this is so reminiscent of when I first started playing the game. I mean, I remember the BT-2s used to be kind of the seal clubbers at tier 2, and there would be like 6 to 8 on every team when we first started playing this game, and they would be like this rush to the top of the hill right here. I mean, I remember seeing 12 BT-2s in a pileup right here. Just an absolute pileup of tanks right here. I'm not quite as fast enough to get up the hill with these other guys. With the changes to the M2 lights and all that kind of stuff, everything's a little bit faster than you are nowadays. So this thing doesn't quite have its mojo like it did when it was, 6 years ago when this game first came out. So I'm not even going to attempt to get up that hill, and I'm going to start playing a little bit different here. And this is what's some nice thing about this tank and its speed is its ability to move around, and of course with that big, beautiful 45 millimeter gun, you do have a little bit of range. A lot of these autoloaders right here would never be able to do some of this stuff that this tank can do. Unfortunately, you can't really get into a brawl with this thing with those autoloaders because they just focus you down so quickly with those clips. So, but this tank does excel fairly decent at range. So I'm going to start dropping shells in here on this M2. Now, I didn't say earlier in the game, but we actually have this platoon here playing these M2 lights. They are dedicated SEAL clubbers. In fact, both of them, actually one of them, had 18,000 games and an M2 light tank, and another 10,000 games in a T-18 from back in the day when that was the king shit tank destroyer. But yeah, so this game I'm not going to put up a big score, but I'm going to definitely try to win this game. So like I said, Platoon 2 and Platoon 1, these guys are dedicated SEAL clubbers. These guys have tens of thousands of games in Tier 2. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult for me to actually try to win this. And unfortunately, since I lost so much HP off that first initial rush to the top of the hill, I have to play this a little bit more careful. So we got the H35 over here to straight ahead of me, and I got these guys still camping up on top of the hill. We'd actually evened it up pretty well. It was at 9-6, so it was looking pretty nice for us right now. Of course, we guys actually have a PZ-38H on our team, which is the infamous Mini-Moss at Tier 2. Now, H-35s, in my opinion, it was like, well, what the fuck? Because these things are just stupid well armored for Tier 2. So essentially, you'll see me switch to APCR rounds because I don't have a chance in hell with my regular AP to actually pin that tank frontally on the side or even the rear. But he does a nice job of leaving himself out here in the open. The PZ-2, the VA type B here is with us, so we're going to actually rush him because we have him separated here. He's doing this guy's actually doing a pretty nice job of not paying attention, so let's just come around the corner here. And I completely donked that shot. Pull on the first one here. Yeah, just see how well that thing is armored, how easily it is for most of these other tanks not to even have a chance to knock it out. So my TD got knocked out by that T2 light that's running around over there. Yeah, so we're off to the races here. We're actually up, which is really surprising because I did not expect this after I looked at the after game stats and realized exactly how stacked that other opposing team was compared to what we had. So back to Cap. I'm not going to go try to face off against the T2 light with his autoloader and the fact that he was firing, from what I understand, mostly APCR rounds. So it was a premium round loadout, premium round equipment. I'm sure he was, and like I said, with 18,000 games and a T2 light tank, he's probably got one hell of a crew. So pull up here in the bush. Let's get some pressure on him. Let's make him come back to us. Yep, there he comes. And he's rolling. We're just going to wait till he see how close he gets before he picks us up. He's at 108. There we go. And with the M2 that's sitting with me, he just simply focuses him out and kills him. So yeah, there we go with this game. Like I said, it wasn't really what I said. It wasn't really, put up a big number to that kind of damage, but it was kind of fun game to watch with me playing at this level and a platoons full of SEAL clubbers. Yeah, I was surprised we pulled this off. So I got the other games are coming up, so hope you guys enjoyed. Okay, we got the hills. Go figure, right? And this video series about my favorite tank per tier. These lower tier ones, like I said, this is all about reminiscing about when we first started playing the game and all that kind of stuff. And then the B2, I just loved this tank back in the day with that 45 millimeters and that really nice speed. And and this of course has been over. It's not what it used to be. I mean, there's tanks a lot faster than this tank nowadays, especially at these lower tiers, with the premiums and whatnot. So yeah, this isn't what it used to be. At one time, this thing used to be the speed demon of tier 2. I don't even remember if they actually nerfed this tank and then didn't quite get its speed back or what it is. But yeah, this thing used to be able to make this hill no problem without even any contention here. So we get up the hill here. We got an M2 medium, T2 medium, a T29, yeah, we got all kinds of tanks here. And they're nice enough here to move up in here so we can actually start working on these guys. So find the T29, see if I can get a couple shots into him before he turns that big vicious machine at me. Ooh, T2 medium, he's going to make a push up here on me. Yeah, there we go, buddy. Autoloaders, just fucking love those tanks at this level, at this tier. Now, what should be entirely different if there wasn't all this red right here, and I had a Tetrarch right behind me trying to help me out, would help you out. But he's too busy over there shooting at shit. So, T29, he's going to stare right here at this spot right here for a while. He's making sure that I'm not going to poke out there, which is fine. About that time, here comes a Cruiser 1. He pulls up. Of course, another autoloader. So now I got the Cruiser 1. He's not paying attention. I'm just going to work my way around here in the corner. Finish him off. Find the T29 from the rear. Yeah, you probably should have stayed at the... You probably should have looked at the corner a little harder. So, now I got 1, 2, 3 tanks here. And I don't have... my Tetrarch is not supporting me at all. It's just going to be me against these 4 little tanks right here. But I was able to pull off a bullshit snapshot. Russian accuracy, of course. And leaves me with the Valentine AT looking at me. He looks like he might be a little bit smarter. He's like, well, what am I going to do here? Do I go? Do I stay? Do I run away? But no, we're going to side scrape tier 2. That's just awesome right there. You don't see side scraping often. But he did it. He tried it. About that time, the Tetrarch shows back up again. But by that time, it's too late. I don't really need any help. But we got her taken care of. So, pull around with the PZ-38T. Oh, bounce that shot. Yeah. So, we're back to pretty even score, 10-6. You'll see me auto-aim a lot with these low-tier cannons. They're just so not fun trying to shoot things with it. So, you'll see me constantly flipping on and off the target. Find another R35 off. He's off to the far to the right by the base. He might have just left it. On this map, there's a stupendous amount of campers that like to sit in that bush right there at the A4-5 area. R35, I have no chance in hell penning him with regular AP, so I switched my APCR. And they'll see if we can put a nice shot onto him. Aim time's a little long on this, same way with dispersion as actually shit. But then again, I just threw a crew into this. I don't have a very good crew in it, and hence why I'm not doing, at least the gun handling part of it is not the best. So I don't have any shots, so now I'm back on the move. Got an M2 left. He's playing off here on the far side of the islands. So I'm going to go over and see if I can, give him a... How are you, sir? M2 medium moves up. Got me some bushes here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, he's got the derp cannon too. Go figure. So let him pull up here. Put the last shell onto him. Put him about 720 damage. Cannot get the bounce. Actually, another bounce off the side of it. Hit the rock for good measure, just in case that rock didn't know I was here. He does now. So. Which gives us the T3 HMC off to the backside here. So up the hill we go. Let's see if we can knock out, get a little bit more damage off here before the game is over. Yeah, here we go. The turning thing on this is not the best. It's entirely a speed thing. Pointed in the direction you want to go and go really fast. When you have to turn, yeah, not so great. So. One more game here for you guys, and that'll be it. Alright, back with a game that's not hills. I remember when these tanks used to get Campanova. I mean, that used to be a blast with these little speed machines. Campanova, which is a great big map, lets you just run all over the place with these things. Had a fair amount of distance. You didn't have to brawl all the time. And that's kind of what sucks about these the tier 1s and 2s. Now that the maps have kind of favors the autocannons. You know, the BT-2s, these tanks that have just single shot um, cannons don't quite have really don't have an advantage at all, because you know everything's close quarter, which allows them to be simply wrecked by all these. There's just a ridiculous number of autocannons that run around at tier 1 and 2. So you have to be a little bit more sneaky than you used to be. So use my ridiculously long traverse here, and we'll see if we can start pumping shells into the Su-76. Alright, there we go, buddy. And let's see if we can get one more shell into him, which we do, but not enough to finish him off. And here comes the PZ-1. He's going to try to get in there. And he's looking around too. There we are. He goes YOLO and dies. Leaves the PZ-35T, which is a pretty nice tank to begin with. I don't really like to deal with these guys anymore than I have to. How the fuck he actually can see me through 2 bushes, I don't know. But he was pointing his gun at me, and of course, there they shoot again. So the you know, the camo things are a little wonky at tier 1s and 2s. Stuff that you should be able to sit behind 2 bushes and not get spotted. Doesn't seem to work as well here. So PZ-35T, he's going to push in here. I don't think he realizes exactly what's here because he's all by himself. So, you know, those dastardly poles that seem to eat your shots. Yeah, so we're going to work on this PZ-35T. Panzerjäger 1's moving up. I'm just going to wait till he gets his attention before I come around the corner and see if I can put a shell into him. This tank, you know, armor-wise, you know, like I said, back in the day, this thing actually did have armor with that sloped armor, and it could take shots from the front. But you know, with the changes to guns, introduction of APCR rounds and that kind of stuff, it kind of negated its armor. I mean, like I said, it used to be able to bounce stuff. You know, now anymore at any of these tiers, you're not going to get that. Get a couple shells into this cruiser too. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if he's still there, but I know I got at least 2 into him, and we are going to be. Of course, I know I got one into him. We're going to see if we can get the rest of this cruiser here when he backs up. Nope, no go, nothing. So now we're going to have to move around and see if we can knock him out. Right now it's tied 7-7. Yeah, let's see what the Cruiser 3's got going on here. He's pulled himself back into the corner, and we got a T-29, M2 medium, and all kinds of things moving up in here. The T-29 is, of course, the premium tank at Tier 3. We're going to see here. We can't quite get him. The T-29 on my team decides to shoot the... Oh, no, apparently he didn't shoot him. I know he had to shoot him. There's no way that T-29 on the opposing team... Oh, maybe they did T-29 opposing. Yeah, wow, that's a hell of a shot. T-29 that was sitting down here on the corner of B5 actually did nail him. So, going to work on here. We'll see if we can spot it, see if we can get him picked up. I know he's in there somewhere. There you are. Finish him off. Now I got an IKV-72 moving up. Oh, the aim on this gun is just wow. Alright, so see if I can pick up another shot on him. No, can't quite get it. There we go. Now we're on target. Long aim time. Crap dispersion. What are you going to do, right? So we're back on the hull. Using that, you know, on a hard ground, this thing really moves nice. Too bad you couldn't take the tracks off like Christie originally intended for this thing, and get it up to you know, over 100 kilometers an hour. That would have been epically cool if you could run around with this thing with no tracks on. All right, so we got the T-29, PZ-2, T-1 HMC left. T-29's mostly dead. Yeah, I was gonna say almost, but no, he's just mostly dead. The other SEAL clubber at T-127, he's coming on the flank over here. PZ-2 is in the back corner, and we're going to come around here on the T-29 and the massive derp cannon that thing carries. So, see if I can get a shot here on this T-1 HMC. No. And of course that leaves the PZ-2 for me to deal with, which is always fun. Once again, he has more games in Tier 2 than I do in. God, I think he had like 60 some thousand battles, and half of them were in Tier 2. That one was just firing full APCR loadout at me. Oh, gotta love that. So, pick up another nice game in it. You know, and I played, what did I play? Probably 10 games in this tank. And it just reminded me of why you don't want to play Tier 2s anymore without a crew, without anything. And it's not really that fun anymore. It's kind of, but then again, it's not really that fun to play Tier 10s anymore either. So, hope you guys like the game, and we'll be seeing you guys later.